Hi, I'm Emma Donahue from a music blog, Yeah, and I'm here today with Emily Hearn. Nice to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. So I really enjoyed listening to your new album, Hourglass, that you just released March 10th. For anyone who hasn't heard it yet, check it out. And I read your story behind the album and how it was really about how time affects us and how it's just, you had that moment where you really realized how significant it was to you. Do you ever find that you feel like time's passing really quickly by you, or are you able to like stop and smell the roses?
Oh, it's so easy to feel like time is going by really fast. I think that's kind of what the whole album was about, that for the past 3 years it's felt like a blink of an eye, and all of a sudden, I mean, I think the thing that originally inspired the album was the song The Oak Tree, and the thought behind that was just how quickly it seems like my grandparents and parents have grown from the main energetic, active role models in my life, and they're starting to seem a little bit older. It's just, I mean, maybe fragile is the right word. You know, just the feeling that things that have been so solid around us would start to feel fragile, and it's a little bit scary.
It's scary for a change, yeah. And you grew up in a small town in Tennessee, is that right?
In Georgia.
In Georgia. And so I bet everyone was really close, so when you see things start to change, you realize, I'm growing up. And when did you have that realization? How old were you?
I think that I actually went to college for 2.5 years, and when I made the decision to drop out and start pursuing music, I think it really hit me.
You're making a big change in your life.
It was a big change and a big decision that was, even though my whole family has grown to really support me now and they're all about what we do, at the time it was very much a decision that I had to make for myself, and they were not really for it. So
did they adapt, I hope?
Yeah, they definitely did. They're the most supportive. They come to almost every show.
When family supports you, that's just like the key thing. And for the first time that you ever performed in front of someone, I saw that you didn't really like discover your love for music till you were a little bit older. So performing for a friend or for anyone for the first time must have been really scary. Were you more scared about like how you were sounding or how the music sounded, or how your lyrics would connect and affect people?
Oh, definitely the lyrics. I've always been a little bit shy about how I sound, especially because I'm self-taught on the guitar, and so I was always a little bit nervous that I would mess up on guitar. That was a big thing with me for a while. But the main thing that I was always so nervous about is the lyrics, because I felt like my journal is just in a song and I'm singing it out to these people. Sometimes it's scary to sing to strangers, but for me it's scarier actually to sing in front of people who you've known for a long time.
Because if you're really putting yourself out there and, you know, pouring out your feelings to someone you don't know, they're learning a lot about you, but for someone you do know, they could be learning about you as well if it's private thoughts and everything.
Or you could have written about some ex-boyfriends that happen to be in the room.
And they show up to the show and then you see them and you realize, oh, this one's about you.
Yes.
And who's your intended audience in terms of age and gender and everything?
I think my main goal is to write something that a lot of people could enjoy, because I guess for the longest time maybe I tried to make it too wide. I wanted to be something that my sister who was in high school could like, and something that my grandfather could like too. So I think I've tightened it up to more of an audience that's around college age and a little bit older than that. But
it's great you haven't restricted yourself to like one age group.
Yeah, it's kind of for everybody. That's my main thing, is that I'm just writing about life and feelings and things that everybody has. So I think that it's really fun for me, because sometimes I'll get, you know, that 7-year-old fan and they're really, really cute. So I have a little bit of everything, I think.
Especially if you're trying to market yourself just to like the tweens or, you know, the college age crowd, it doesn't let you have a bigger fan base. And if you're really trying to connect with people and you put so much care into your music, especially from listening to the album, reading the booklet, everything, I just felt like you cared so much and that you just want everyone to, you know, feel comforted and connect to your music. And when I was listening, especially, I really loved the song Long Summer, and I saw that you said that was like the way you wrapped up the album. You're looking back, and that one, I liked the name, especially like Long Summer, you're reflecting, but that one was just like very soft and comforting to me. And listening to the whole album, I just felt like I was on the way home from a friend's house, and it had kind of been like not the best night, and I listened to it, and it was like having a comforting best friend talking to you and helping you through something.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
it was really nice to it was very calming and nice to listen to. And I think it's so amazing that you get to tour with your husband. And that must be so fun because, you know, even though you're away from family and away from friends, you get to be with someone you love and be. How did you guys meet and figure out that each other were into music and work together?
Well, we actually got set up on a blind date. He was in a separate band at the time, and I was touring kind of by myself and writing songs by myself, and I didn't really have any friends who did music, so I felt a little bit lonely, and I had even thought about quitting. But when I met Michael, we got set up, and he introduced me to a lot of his friends, and I started collaborating with all of these musicians in Athens where we live. And first of all, we hit it off, and it was so fun, and we played music together pretty much ever since. But also, it kind of taught me a lot about collaborating with other people, playing with a full band, because his band actually ended up playing with me for a lot of different stuff. So it was a really cool season, even though now we just tour and play the two of us. So.
It's hard if you have to work with other people and other opinions and you have to mesh together. It's great that you guys connected and it was, you know, good to work with them. I mean, it's hard, like, especially when I do projects collaborating with people, even in just school, it's hard to get in the same mindset. But when you do, you can make some really great stuff and it can just flow beautifully. And so back to the oak tree, that was a really meaningful one, I can tell by the way you talk about it and from what I've read. And that one, even though like there was a story behind it, was like sad and you were upset at the time, you made it sound like it was sad lyrics, but you made it in like a beautiful way. And I really love that.
Kind of upbeat and happy and whimsical sounding.
I like the way that you did that. It shows that you're like a positive person, and even when you're upset about things, you try and make the best of it, which is important in life. Especially the music business when you're trying to go far and everything. Are you like a big fan of live music, or do you not really go many shows?
I'm a huge fan of live music. The funny thing is I grew up in such a small town that growing up I wasn't really, it's not that I wasn't allowed, but no one, I mean the closest place that anyone toured was Atlanta, and it was over an hour away. And so when you're in, you know, middle school and high school, your parents don't really want you to go to the big city for concerts. So the only concert that I went to growing up was the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was in love with that.
Yeah. So then when I got to college, I started going to so many more shows and discovering more indie artists and that kind of thing.
Where were you in college?
At the University of Georgia.
Oh, okay. That's where my friend goes.
Oh, yeah.
Good music scene there.
Yeah, it's such a cool music scene, tons of cool venues. So that's when I really started seeing a lot of shows live and kind of figuring out what I wanted my show to be like and that kind of stuff.
I mean, seeing how it all comes together, as that's an art form on its own, the live show.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that like it was hard at first with, you know, the lighting and the set list, but when everything comes together, it's just like an amazing performance. That's why I think it's so important to just see music live. If you're listening on headphones, it's still meaningful, but like being there and seeing the person in front of you, it's just amazing.
Hearing stories
Exactly.
and seeing their personality. That's my favorite thing, is seeing someone in their element and making a joke that's completely separate.
You
or
can't tell
telling
from just a
story.
picture.
Yeah, totally.
You need to meet them. And what like music did your parents play growing up for you?
Oh my gosh. My dad had 5 CDs in his car, and I think it was Avril Lavigne, James Taylor, Uncle Cracker,
Oh my god.
the Dixie Chicks, and oh
That's
my
a good mix
gosh,
there.
John Denver.
My parents, it was all U2, The Police, you know, Coldplay,
Yes.
all that.
They had good taste in music.
That was how I got into my music. And did that affect how like your taste developed, or did you like go completely opposite from what your parents liked?
I think that it definitely affected me a lot, because I think about those particular albums that we listened to over and over again in my dad's car.
Yeah.
And
Long road trips and all
yeah,
that.
and even if you don't, I mean, because James Taylor and John Denver are actually still 2 of my favorites, and I love the Dixie Chicks, I love the harmonies, I mean, even though there's certain things that are cheesy about pop music that seems older, there's something about music that you listen to when you're younger that just really inspires you later.
Brings you back to when you were 5 years old.
So those have come back to currently influence me in what I do, but I'm definitely moving in a different direction than that kind of stuff.
I mean, it helps you like start off, but then you can change on your own and grow. And who do you think now is like some of your top favorite bands besides the ones you mentioned?
Well, one of my very favorite bands is called the Envy Corps.
I haven't heard of
They're really cool. My favorite album of all time is one of theirs called Dwell. And so,
What are they, like indie rock?
yeah, kind of like indie rock.
Oh,
It's
very cool.
really cool. And I mean, how can you not love Taylor Swift?
It's true.
Her new album is really cool. So
There's some really good ones on the new one. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The very old ones and then this
Yeah,
recent one were the
totally.
best. The ones in the middle, not my favorite.
yeah, yeah. But I'm a big fan of Adele. I love
She's
her
amazing.
voice and her style. I think that what I'm most inspired by right now actually is older jazz music. So
interesting.
I'm really into Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, and they made a bunch of 4 duet records. And so I just listen through those over and over again. They're so cool.
Do you
So
think you'll incorporate any sort of jazz in your next album, or are you going to stick?
I hope so. I mean, I think that that's something, it's so different from popular music that I might have to do a totally separate concept album that was jazz, but I would love to do that.
I really like
That
that
would be so
idea
cool.
because a lot of the times you see you've had a couple EPs out, 3 EPs, right, and then this album. And what I've seen a lot doing album reviews and digging through artist work is the first couple albums are a certain style, and they'll mix it up. Like I don't know if you know the Kooks,
Yeah.
but they're one of my very favorite bands, and their recent album Listen, they totally mixed it up with a new
Yep.
style, and that can be fun. And you can just change it up, and you can always go back. You can just
Yep.
change around. It's fun to
Absolutely.
explore. And a music vlog's favorite question: what's one thing that fans don't know about you yet?
Well, this is not really currently about me, but when I was growing up and in high school, I used to race triathlons
Oh, really?
and run half marathons and stuff. I still sometimes
God.
run, but it's very much in the past, but it was a huge part of who I was in high school, and even before I started writing songs, I was a big racer girl.
Well, props to you for that. I can't run for my life. Check out her new album, Hourglass, that is out now, so see you later.